Alright, so we have just concluded the third iteration of 2v8 in Dead by Daylight, this time being the Resident Evil themed version with 3 more killers, bringing the killer choices total up to 11, which means 2v8 is slowly becoming more and more of a big event, and the developers have said that they want to continue to re-release 2v8 with more and more killers and make it bigger and better every time. So, we've done one other diagnostic video on this before after the second iteration concluded, and we found some pretty interesting results last time. So, I wanted to do this again now that we have 3 more killer choices and see if the results were skewed differently. Now, if you take a look here at this first image, this will represent all of my killer choices in matches where I was playing 2v8 mode as one of the 11 killers in this mode. And this is only marking my specific choice for every game. There were 132 games that I played as a killer. We have way more data by far. We played, hands down, way more of this mode than we did in either of the other two. And in fact, I bet if we did the math on it, we would probably have doubled our playtime, or at least our match totals, from the first and second iteration of 2v8 combined with this one. So we've played a lot more, we have a lot more data, and we have some more detailed results, I think, which helps us go take a better diagnostic look at this. So if you take a look here, my number 1 picked killer was Nemesis. This shouldn't be any surprise to those who have watched my channel before. If you know, I am a Nemesis main, so I was very hyped to see Nemesis and Wesker make it into this game mode. I had to play my boy more than anybody else, just because I am a Nemesis main and I wanted to get a different experience with this. So of course, he was my top choice. I played him 26 matches out of 132, so that was a very big chunk. And my next biggest played was Wesker at 17. All the rest, I tried to kind of play mostly the same amount of. My lesser choices were Trapper, Wraith, Huntress, just because, again, if you watched my last video on the diagnostic, you know that I try to play a variety, and I get tired of seeing the same people play it all the time. Now, even though I played Nemesis way more than the other ones, it's only because it was the first time that he was available in this mode, and Trapper, Wraith, Huntress, and all these other ones have been available for the other 2 iterations, or at least for one other iteration. So I wanted to play more of the ones that haven't been available before, like Legion, Nemesis, and Wesker. So you'll see that being reflected there. I also got really into Deathslinger this time. I bought a new cosmetic that I was just really feeling, and I don't know, I feel like I didn't play him enough last time, and so I just wanted to play him more. And I also played Billy a lot as well, because I was really feeling Billy as well. So these are my picks. It's mostly pretty evenly spaced out after Nemesis and Wesker, but for the most part, you know, that's what we're looking at here. Now, the next page here is going to represent my teammates' choices. So if you look here, my teammates' choices were overwhelmingly Wesker, and I'm not surprised. Wesker's a very popular killer in general, even in the 4v1. Even though he's been out for almost 2 years now, he's still one of the highest pick rates in the 4v1, just day to day, outside of any events. He's typically like top 5. He's always top 10 pretty much, and in a lot of the time, most of the time, he's top 5, top 6. So he's a very popular killer in general, with the funny voice lines and, you know, a good power and everything like that. So I'm not surprised about this at all, especially since we have the combination of Nemesis and Wesker. I did expect to see that a lot, and actually I was pleasantly surprised, because when we did this diagnostic last time, almost all of my expectations were broken, and not in a good way. I was hoping that we would see more variety in Slinger, Blight, and Spirit last time, and we really didn't. It still kind of kept on the Wraith and Huntress and Trapper being played the most, but I'm pleasantly surprised this time that Legion, Nemesis, and Wesker got the playtime, because again, those are the killers that we didn't get to see before, so that's what I was playing, that's what I was wanting to see more of, so I was pleasantly surprised. It did get a bit to the point where I was like, okay, we're getting a lot of Weskers, but after last time with me complaining about how many Wraiths we were playing with, I tried not to complain about that again. But again, I'm not as surprised, and Wesker has a lot more, utility, and I think he's a bit more fun and interesting character to play with than Wraith is, just because he hasn't been out as long as Wraith. It's a pretty skewed result. I do want to mention here that we finally, after months and months and months and 3 iterations of 2v8, right at the end, down to literally the very last day, within the last 12 hours of 2v8, we got one hillbilly teammate. Finally. If you watch my last diagnostic video, you will know that neither in the first nor the second iteration of 2v8 did we ever a single time have a hillbilly be a teammate. And I was like, nobody likes Billy, which still seems to be the case, but we finally got a hillbilly teammate. So I'm happy that we were able to cross that off and finally get it done. So I'm happy that there's another Billy player out there somewhere, and we finally paired with him. So I'm very happy to see hillbilly on the board for the teammate side finally. Now, moving on here, these are all of the games that we faced playing Survivor. Now, this pool here is much, much smaller. I only played Survivor about 10% of the time in this mode compared to what I played for Killer, so I have a much more, a much less variety in what I faced here, because I only played, I think, like 20 games as Survivor, as opposed to like the 132 that I played as Killer. So this is much shorter here, but I faced 2 Billies, 1 Nurse, so that's kind of still similar. Mostly Weskers and Legions and Nemesises. And then after that, it's pretty even across the board between Blight Spirit, Deathslinger, Huntress, Wraith, Trapper. I didn't experience as much variety in that, so I thought that was interesting at least. Now, if you want to see the totals here, that'll be on the next page. These are the grand totals, and you can see Wesker completely blows everybody out of the water. Almost 3-1 on some of these other picks. Most of the other ones. The only one who even comes close to stand a chance is Nemesis and Legion, and then Deathslinger after that. So yeah, again, I'm not very surprised, although I am happy to see, like I say, the 3 new choices being added actually being played, because that was not the case last time when they added Spirit, Slinger, and Blight. So I am very pleased that these 3 new additions got played. But I think it's just because Resident Evil is so popular, and we got to play all the skins. We got to play as Hunk and William Birkin as Blight, which I should mention here, for the Blights, I was tracking how many William Birkins we played with. I don't have the skin myself, so I didn't end up counting any of those for my games, of course. But we did have 2 teammates that were William Birkin, and we played against 1 William Birkin. So I just want to mention that. I thought that was interesting. I didn't really track the Hunks, because I feel like more people have that skin in general, and I don't remember really playing any anyway. If I did, it was only a couple, similar to Blight. But I just want to throw that out there. The final page here is going to be every total without my picks. So this is really your true result here, because the whole point of this diagnostic is to kind of see what the community is playing and what everybody wants to do more. So if you take away my picks, you kind of see a more general observation of what the community is looking for. And again, it's definitely the Wesker players from the community that are bringing up this total, because it was my second most played, you know, and I was excited to play about them too, but yeah. The Nemesis plays get cut in half, because that was my most played. And then, even then though, they're still neck and neck with Legion. There were only 2 more Legion plays than Nemesis plays. So the yellow bar here is essentially just what my teammates played and what I went up against. The red and the green bars here. So taking away my plays, Nemesis plays get cut in half, but still top 3. And yeah, I'm very pleased with this. I'm very happy that these 3 were the most picked. I can't say it enough, because I was so confused and disappointed and kind of let down with the second iteration that the 3 new additions didn't get played, and that we were still seeing Wraith and Huntress and Trapper a lot. Still not getting a ton of Nurse and Hillbilly. We only played with or against 3 Hillbillies and like 5 Nurses, I want to say, so it wasn't anything crazy, but it was still more than we had seen before, so I still really enjoyed this. And you know, I think this is a very different skew of results than we've seen before, and I'm very happy to say. So if you guys want to compare this to the previous iterations, version 1, again, it was Wraith, Trapper, and Huntress, so like those are your visuals. Wraith in first, Huntress in second, Trapper in a third, and then Hillbilly and Nurse, almost not nearly as many plays. And then the second iteration, same thing. Huntress in first, and then a Wraith, and then kind of Trapper and Spirit tied, but it still wasn't crazy. And again, Hillbilly and Nurse not played almost at all. And you'll see that there's no teammate picks for Hillbilly in the first one, and there's no teammate picks in the second one for Hillbilly either. So I'm glad that we at least finally broke this streak of Hillbilly not being played by a teammate. We finally got at least one game. It was literally like the last morning, like literally this morning I played like 4 matches to try to fit it in, and we got one right at the end. And I thought that we were gonna have the streak being continued where not a single teammate picks Hillbilly, but we finally broke the streak. So that's an interesting tidbit there. The only really like comments I have besides this is that I do feel like, despite them being picked often, a lot of my teammates that were playing Legion and Wesker either were not very good or were seeming to be just not really trying. The Legions more so than the Weskers, but these are the 2 teammate killers I experienced the most, where it kind of just felt like they were memeing, and they would either just straight up refuse to use their power, or they would just kind of like walk around the map and like follow survivors and nod their head at them, and they weren't really contributing. They would get a couple of downs here and there, but they were kind of just vibing, I guess. And so I was a bit annoyed about that. The Legions especially, like almost 50% of these Legion players that were my teammate out of like the 22 or whatever that we had were just straight up not using their Feral Frenzy. Like they were just literally walking around the map, not even using it for mobility, just straight up walking around the map, forgetting they have a power, M1ing survivors, then chasing them, getting pallets down, breaking the pallet, chase them again, downing, and they would get like 3 downs in the entire match to my like 12 hook stages, and it was a bit annoying. Like I was beginning to be let down. Every time I would see a Legion, I'd be like, oh boy, here we go, another solo game versus these survivors. So I don't know, I thought that was worth mentioning, because I don't know, I don't know if it's just that people wanted to meme or what, or they didn't know what they were doing, but Legion's a free character and he's been out for a long time, so it's not like people don't know how his power works. It's not even complicated. It's one of the simplest powers in the game. Wesker, you could argue that people just were still learning him and just weren't as very good, because if you didn't know, this is the first time since it was a licensed character in a special game mode that the devs actually allowed you to play as Jill, Valentine, and Claire, and all these people that you didn't own if you don't own the character. You couldn't get like the skins actually, like Claire and Carlos and whatever, but you could play as Leon, you could play as Jill, you could play as Nemesis, and you could play as Wesker if you didn't own the characters. So I could see people not owning the Resident Evil chapters and trying out Wesker and Nemesis for the first time and not really knowing what they're doing, but I didn't really experience any Nemesises that didn't seem decent or that they didn't really know what they were doing. It was all the Weskers and the Legions. So I don't know, I want to throw that out there because I thought that was worth mentioning. But other than that, I had a lot of fun this mode. Like clearly I played it twice as much, and I really enjoyed having more variety, and I'm excited to see what comes next. I don't think that we'll see any more licensed killers in this mode, because I've said it before, I said there would never be, and I got to eat my own words when they released the Resident Evil, but I think the only reason that they were able to do this is because it was from the same universe of Resident Evil, and plus they have all the skins in game, like the William Birkin and the Hunk, and they've got all these skins that are Resident Evil themed, and it's all of the same universe, so I think that's why it makes sense and why they were able to do it. And the Resident Evil devs seem to be pretty close with behavior, and they seem to like adding new things and like seeing their content in the game. So I think that's the only reason it happened. So I still stand by what I said, that I don't think we'll have other licenses being mixed together, like a Freddy Krueger and Michael Myers working together. I still think that conflicts with their copyright and their infringement interests and all that. But I would be interested to see more of the original characters being added and seeing the different combinations. But I think this is the first time where we really had a wide enough lineup of choices where we could really see more variety. And again, I know it was still mostly Legion, Nemesis, and Wesker, but again, this is the first time people have had that opportunity. So I feel like that's how it should be every time a new character is developed, and then every time more characters get added on top of that, the ones that have been in it once already kind of even out in the pick rate. So this is kind of that first trend where we finally start to see it go. The second time, I feel like maybe we didn't have enough characters still in there, or people weren't happy or as familiar with the unlicensed characters that got added to really play them enough or appreciate them. But I'm very happy with this. That's all I can really say, is that I'm pleased. So you guys let me know what you think. Let me know if you're surprised by anything, or if there's anything that you thought we would see more of. We did get to see a few Blight and Nurse combos. We had a lot of Nemesis and Wesker combos. Yeah, so good stuff all around. I'll probably be posting another compilation video of this, because I do have a lot more clips and a lot more playtime, and we did one stream on it. We tried to get a streak going from Trapper down to Wesker and playing every killer in order to get in a streak, and you'll have to see how that one ends. But in the meantime, that's all I got for you guys for this week. Next week, we're going to be moving outside of more 2v8 stuff, because we've been doing a lot of 2v8 coverage in a row. But you guys let me know what you think in the comments, and we'll see you in the next iteration of 2v8. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.